Friday night. That means it's time for the Don Tony Show.
You've waited all week, and now it's finally here. Get Don Tony's perspective on current affairs in the world of pro wrestling and beyond.
And now, your host, the man, the legend, Don Tony.
Going a little old school, the Blackheart shirt. Wore this shirt 20 years ago. Oh, what memories. 20 years ago doing the wrestling hotline. Anybody remember this? I don't know if you saw it, but Timmy Arson, rest in peace, my friend. The ECW zombie, as most of you remember him. He was think about that. Even though he was just the ECW zombie, he was doing a hotline with me, Mad Zombie, Brian Damage. We were buddies. We hung out. We would party. And to see him now is a Trivial Pursuit question. Who's the first person to ever appear on WWE's ECW? He called us up that day. He's like, do not miss tonight's ECW. Now, I wasn't going to miss it because being a diehard ECW fan, I was very curious to see what WWE was going to do. And when I saw that, tears came down from my eyes. I don't care if people make fun of me. It felt like, since I always reference Goodfellas, it felt like Joe Pesci when he was made, like Joe Pesci ended up getting whacked and the zombie got whacked from the Sandman. But you don't know what that feels like for a good friend of yours to make it like that. It was awesome. So I wear this tonight in tribute. It still fits, thank God. Little tribute because today is 20 years that WCW NITRO went off the air. Now, yes, to piss off the haters, I'll refresh a little story. Now, I know Nelson Torres, WTF promotion. I know a lot of you know him. He is one of the witnesses. There are a lot of people that still tune into my stuff that bared witness at that time. A lot of people, enjoy that myself and Mish, we predict a lot of things correct. We analyze it. You could see it a mile away. Look at tonight, the three-way dance. Do you realize it was 5 weeks ago, maybe even more, since the week of the Royal Rumble? We were talking about Daniel Bryan versus Edge versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I mean, we've been talking about this for a long time, and I'm convinced that WWE had that plan from the beginning. And it was pretty much common sense if you think about it. Edge, a comeback story, absolutely. A comeback story that we all enjoy. But it's not on the level of a Daniel Bryan comeback story because Edge, been gone for too long. And for the younger wrestling fans today, they don't have that connection with Edge. And I think his appearances on WWE TV for years leading up to it kind of proved that. Do you remember when Edge interviewed Becky Lynch? And they were trying so hard to get, Becky Lynch booed. Edge was talking to her, trying to get some sense into her, and they were trying so hard to get Becky Lynch as the heel. I think a lot of people forget that. And Becky Lynch thought, get out of my ring, and she got cheered. And nobody, for the most part, gave a shit about Edge all that much. And look, it's not Edge's fault. It's not WWE's fault. Sometimes when you're gone too long, you can't just rehash that overnight. I mean, over the years, we've seen some wrestlers make a return after a very long absence, and it's not the same. For me, I think the one that I will always, two that I'll always remember is D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown making that return multiple years and got cheered. I remember that pop that he got. I think it was on Raw. And after that match, that was pretty much it. There was just nothing there. The one that always stuck with me my entire life as far as being a wrestling fan is Jimmy Snuka. Jimmy Snuka we know about the Nancy Argentino stuff. Okay. But back in the 80s, when you're a wrestling fan like I was, Jimmy Snuka was larger than life. Jimmy Snuka was my number one favorite wrestler until I learned about somebody by the name of Terry Funk. But when Jimmy Snuka came back several years later, and I remember when, I think it might have even been WrestleMania, and they just introduced him as a guest. Didn't he just come out with his flip-flops and just, did the I love you and then left again? I remember when Howard Finkel said, "From the Fiji Islands," and everybody turned around, and there was no roaring. As soon as you hear Fiji Islands, you should be in an uproar, and there was very, very little reaction. It's just the way it is. But I think WWE realized early on that there is a huge audience out there that is not connected with Edge again. And I think it's so lopsided, Edge versus Roman Reigns. Most of us feel, ain't no way Roman Reigns is losing Edge. Now you put Daniel Bryan in the equation. And as much as WWE has done some caca stuff the last 16 months since COVID has been around, I think the way Daniel Bryan, to introduce him back into this title picture, they have done a wonderful job. Because there's a lot of people that think that Daniel Bryan could walk out of WrestleMania the champion. And if people think that, WWE is doing their job. But anyway. Oh, thank you, everybody. I'll do some shout-outs in a moment. I want to just annoy the haters for a second. It's my birthday. My birthday will be in 2 hours. That's one thing about my birthday and WCW going off the air. 2001, I'm planning, taking off the Tuesday, going to go fishing with my friends, celebrate my birthday, and WCW goes off the air. Now, let me show you how vivid this memory is. And like I said, I name dropped Nelson Torres, but there's quite a few of you out there that remember this. Back then, I was doing my wrestling hotline, and I was doing it for about 3.5 years already, maybe closer to 4. And Captain Ivan, who's still around, thank God, he was doing a wrestling hotline. Dominic Valente was doing a wrestling hotline. Vinnie Mac, Captain Lenny, which a lot of you know who he is now. Everybody had a wrestling hotline. And when the news broke on, I think it was March 19th, 2001. In fact, I pulled one of the news articles. I think this was March 19th, 2001. And we found out that Turner, with the AOL Time Warner merger, that they were going to drop WCW programming, even though it was still a very, very popular show, one of the top shows on Turner programming. They were still going to drop it. And I went on Captain Ivan's line as a guest, and we were talking about what could happen. And we honestly wondered, could Vince McMahon buy WCW? What's going to happen? At that time, we weren't aware of it. Then a few days later, it was announced that Vince McMahon bought WCW. I went back on Captain Ivan's hotline. I think it was like 2 or 3 days before Nitro, March 26th, 01. And on the hotline, and I wish I would have recorded it, I have footage of my hotline reports from 2000 and 2001. There's a few streaming on Patreon, but I am going to improve the audio quality and put them on YouTube for everybody to enjoy as well. You'll get to hear how terrible and bland and just nerdy I was back then. But I went on his hotline and he said, "What do you think's going to happen now? They're going off the air on Monday." I said, "You know what?" I said, "I wouldn't be surprised," because they were doing the storyline of Shane McMahon versus Vince McMahon. I said on his hotline, and everybody heard it, I said, "You know what? Wouldn't surprise me if Vince McMahon teases all night long about the future of WCW, that he bought WCW and, I could do whatever I want with it. And then at the very end of the night, we find out that McMahon bought it, but it was Shane McMahon. And now Shane McMahon with WCW would feud with Vince McMahon in the WWF." And he's like, "That's a pretty good idea." I think that was a pretty good idea. I wish social media was around at that time. I would have wrote, this kind of developed pretty nicely. So that was my memory of hotlines. Now, any of you remember TiVo? I think TiVo might still be around. But my most vivid memory of March 26, 2001 is having this giant silver box that was TiVo. And I TiVo'd WCW, and I watched both. I had the picture-in-picture, and I'm watching what's going on, and I'll never forget Tony Schiavone's face and Mike Tenay's face. Mike Tenay looked like he was constipated. Mike Tenay looked like there was a plunger up his ass. You could tell that, my God, my job is over. That's it. You're fired! Look, I like Mike Tenay. I thought what he did in TNA was excellent. But him, every time he did an interview with those over-the-top facial expressions, Samoa Joe, what are you going to do in your match with Kurt Angle? That's my memories of Mike Tenay. But I TiVo'd it, and I invite you, go back and watch the very beginning when they announced that Vince McMahon, I think even they said Mr. McMahon, they looked worried, they looked pissed, and I tell you, it was surreal. It was freaking surreal. Watching Vince on a couple of segments, I'm like, being a wrestling fan since 1979 and seeing the birth of the Monday Night Wars, hell, seeing Hulk Hogan jump to WCW was surreal as it was. But I'll tell you, I know a lot of people think Hogan is a piece of shit now, and I don't agree or disagree with that. I'm indifferent. He didn't insult this Italian. Well, he insulted this Italian white guy, but he has other people to really own up to, and I still haven't heard that real deep apology. We hear about little backstage stuff, but anyway, I remember Lee Marshall. A lot of you, do you know Kay Doherty? And I don't know if some of you are aware of this. Do you know what Lee Marshall's job was also outside of wrestling? You know what? Free shirt. Any promotion, any wrestler, my show, anybody. I don't care if it's a rival show. Anybody out there know what he was doing at the same time with the wrestling Lee Marshall back then? Anybody know what his other job was? Free shirt. There you go. Lion got it. I'll even give it to Harris because he piped in literally a half a second after. So both of you email me, DonTony@DonTony.com. When you used to watch the Frosted Flakes commercials, great! That was him. He actually was the voice of Tony the Tiger. Now, Richard Slater, you're a little off in your answer. But so TiVoing this, it was freaking surreal. I mean, you see, Scott Steiner and Booker T, this like unification, or Booker T holding two titles. You wondered what the future of Scott Steiner was going to be because he burned a lot of bridges with WWE with some of the stuff he would say, not only on TV, but off camera. Ric Flair wrestling in a T-shirt because he's a little embarrassed of his bosoms, Oh, man, that was surreal. But, not for nothing, man. It was freaking funny when Vince McMahon was teasing about Jeff Jarrett. That's it. You're gone. The Lex Express derailed. And it was great, man. It was great. It's sad to see it gone. And I will say this. I don't expect anybody to read this now. Maybe on the replay you could pause it and you could look at this press release. This press release from Fusient Media that Eric Bischoff's group was involved with that bought WCW, that press release was issued on January 11, 2001. January 11, 2.5 months earlier. So just think about that. For 2.5 months, doing wrestling hotlines and being a wrestling fan, and we were under the impression that, okay, new owners are going to, buy WCW, and it's going to remain as it was. You know, we were going to see the same product on TV. We were going to see the same, people wrestling. It will just have different owners behind the scenes. And I'm not kidding. Most other outside of wrestlers and people in the business, most of these podcasts and documentaries that you see on YouTube are usually people that weren't even embryos at the time, or maybe they were like 4 years old. They didn't experience this. I will tell you firsthand. And anybody that's my age or even a little bit younger that were around at that time will tell you also, for those 2.5 months that we were under the impression that Eric Bischoff's group bought WCW, we didn't think much of it. It's not something that you talked about every day. You just figured, oh, okay, Turner's selling because AOL Time Warner. They did the AOL Time Warner merger, and Ted Turner was going to be pretty much gone. At the time, I think some of us thought that he was kind of being forced out. So we just thought, okay, new owners, but, same thing. I mean, the product wasn't that great, but they did have a lot of stars, young stars, that could have developed in the future. Anybody remember AJ Styles and Air Paris? Sean O'Hare? I mean, Mark Jindrak? They had some very promising talent. But unfortunately, what transpired. AOL Time Warner, and this is what it comes down to. When AOL Time Warner, they did the merger, and AOL started looking at the books. Number one, they saw how much money WCW was losing. And number two, even though it was still a very popular show, and if you notice, I'm not going from notes. I'm just telling you whatever just comes to my mind. But I will leave you this, and we'll move on. I'll just say this at the end. At that time, you thought pretty much it was going to be business as usual. And when AOL Time Warner took over and they started looking at the books and seeing how much WCW was losing, but still it was a very popular show. And Eric Bischoff, to his credit, and that group was going to really try to streamline and turn this around. And we were confident that that was going to happen as well. The problem is that at that time, the TNT, TBS, the Turner networks were lacking a real identity. And they decided they wanted the Turner networks, to go forward and be more movie-based, TV show, not pro wrestling. So they decided, you know what? Even though Fusion and Eric Bischoff agreed to buy the company in January 2001, I think it was Jamie Kellner, was that his name? In March, he says, you know what? You can buy WCW, but we're not going to air it on the Turner networks anymore. Now, I'll say one last thing. To this day, I don't understand this. To this day, I don't understand it. And I think a lot of you out there will at some point thought about this, and at some point have spoken out on this. I had cable TV back then. It was 150 channels to choose from. What I don't understand is why didn't they even attempt to try to find a new network to put the show on? I mean, Eric Bischoff, when he says over the years, and I'm not telling him how to handle his money. Obviously, he's the successful millionaire, and I'm not yet. But, yes, they were going to buy WCW for what, 60 million, 70 million, 50 million? I don't know the exact amount. But once it's announced that they're not going to air on Turner, why not negotiate for a lower price and immediately shop it on the other channels? Just remember, this was the middle of March that they announced that it was not going to air on WCW. WCW is not going to air on Turner anymore. And within a week to 10 days, Vince bought it. You think about that. A company that was going to be sold for $50, $60, $70 million 20 years ago. Imagine how much that would be valued today. And you mean to tell me that not even a week, 2 weeks, a month, even if WCW went on hiatus for a couple of weeks, WCW NWA has been around for decades. why not, as you're renegotiating the deal, why not pitch it to other networks? Hey, TNN, hey this, hey that, you want wrestling? Why does that seem it wasn't pursued? And I know there's been excuses made over the years. I just find that difficult to believe. I personally think, if you want my honest opinion on this, there were no real lawsuits that were heavily pursued against Vince McMahon and WWE for kind of stealing WCW out from everyone. And I personally think that once the Turner networks no longer wanted to carry WCW programming, I just don't think Eric Bischoff and that group just really cared anymore about it. I mean, I don't want to say they didn't care about WCW, but I just think that they just felt like, you know what, fuck it. That's what it felt like. That's what it felt like. But, man, 20 years ago. I mean, it makes you feel old, obviously, especially the fact that, I was doing a hotline for almost 4 years already and covering this. It was surreal, man. It was really surreal. So I will always remember that. Obviously, because it predicted it right, but that was a fabulous storyline. And at that time, we truly thought that WCW was going to continue. We thought that USA Network was going to add an additional show on a different night, and we would still get Nitro. The problem was we didn't hear anything on the schedules. And then you saw what we saw on TV, and trust me, that Buff Bagwell match didn't help at all. Left Twix is asking me, do I think between WCW and WWF they were getting combined rating? Oh, yes. Oh, no, he's saying think about it. Yeah, think about it. At times during the Monday Night Wars, they had combined ratings of 10, 11. I mean, they can't even get 10% of that now sometimes. And yes, obviously the internet in 01 was a lot different than what it is now. I mean, thank God some of you out there never dealt with 56K modem, 33.8 modem. Man, only the rich had DSL. And even with that, what did you get? Real Media, Real Player. Remember Real Player? I still have files that are in Real Player format with that blue freaking check mark thing. And blue check marks. Fuck you, blue check marks. So yeah, today's the 20-year anniversary, and it was pretty surreal. The next day, I think I still went fishing. But, it was like, wow. Every time this anniversary comes up, I'm always reminded because it's my birthday. I'm like, oh, that means, yeah, it's another year gone by that WCW went off the air. And remember this, too. ECW was off the air as well. I think a lot of people forget that not only in 2001 did we lose WCW, in 2001 we lost ECW. And believe me, a lot of you know already that I worked for ECW for the last year and a half that they were in existence. I was pushing tickets, pushing it on my hotline and, doing things like that. But even then, you knew there was money problems, but no one really ever thought that it was going to go out of business. And then they had that one event, and then that was it. And it was like, holy shit. And then they filed bankruptcy, and then Paul Heyman shows up on Raw, and you're like, okay, that's the end of it. That's the end of it. I tell you, in looking back on this, I was more upset about ECW going off the air than Nitro, because I truly believe that Nitro was going to be coming back. Look, it was losing a boatload of money. But with Vince McMahon and their management at the helm, you had a ton of good talent. They had a huge, trust me, any of you out there, if you're curious, go back and look at WCW's roster in 2000 and 2001. And trust me, if this was 20 years ago and somebody told you that AEW was going to start up and had that roster, maybe you wouldn't be happy about the Hogans and the Nashes, even though they were pretty much kind of off TV. But you would steal. I mean, that is a top roster. You didn't have tons of scrubs. It was just like I always say, you could have the greatest actors, the greatest actresses, but if the movie plot sucks, majority of people are not going to watch the movie. Same thing with wrestling. You could have the most talented stars, but if the storylines and fucking with fans' intelligences over and over and over again, you get fed up. I'll never forget what Chris Jericho said. Never forget what he said. And it doesn't matter he went to AEW or they can go to AEW with it. Still, it doesn't matter. I remember Chris Jericho a long time ago saying that once those fans left, you weren't getting them back. And that's the thing. Usually, and you see it on social media now, look at all the whiny heinies on social media that despise AEW, but they can't get it out of their mouths. They truly do like AEW. They truly can't stop watching it. But they complain and bitch about everything, and misery loves company. So that's why they do it. If they hated it that much, they wouldn't talk about it. Plain and simple. But you look at all of the complaining these days and how wrestling is. Once you get truly fed up at a product, that's it. You're done. You don't invest your time, your breath, your energy, your money. You just ignore it. That's it. That's how I kind of felt with NWA after that debacle in August. Oh, they're coming back. All right, I'll take a wait and see approach. One decent pay-per-view and one return episode of Power is not going to be enough for yours truly, So, man, 20 years, amazing. 20 years. It's freaking surreal. I'm still living in the same house that I was at that time, but crazy memories. If I find, because I still have thousands of files that are all misnumbered and labeled because I had a hard drive failure like 15 years ago. I still have the hard drive. In fact, I still have the TiVo hard drive. I just never linked it up to a computer, so I still have that original recording and a few other things. I miss the 90s too, Prince Albert's. I miss it. Obviously we can't go back, but, if you told me that I could pay a certain amount of money and be able to just live 1 week back then, or the Monday Night Wars or the 80s, I would take it in a heartbeat. Wouldn't even hesitate. Shout out SoFly Bimore. Thank you very much, my friend. I'm not just saying this to kiss ass, but I actually am enjoying spending Friday night with all of you right now. To me, with my birthdays, I think any of you that have been following me for years know this already. I treat birthdays like any other day. For me, it is a little depressing. I'm 1 year closer to death, obviously. And you get older, there's only so much I could, masquerade a little bit of the gray. It's not there yet, but, I do use a little dye from time to time. But I'm having fun. And just think about this. A year ago, Mish and I did the One Chip Challenge. It's already been a year with the One Chip Challenge. That's on YouTube if you've never seen it. Mish and I did the One Chip Challenge a year ago on video. And that was not pleasant. That's kind of like how I celebrated the birthday. But SoFly, thank you very much for that, my friend. And Devin M., yes, tomorrow morning I am going for breakfast. I will definitely have a black coffee. Absolutely, man. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. And believe me, I want to just say this. I know this is going to sound awkward, but please, I don't want anybody to ever feel that you have to. I know some people are like, why are you even going to say it? You don't have to super chat to wish me good with anything. I do appreciate it because it really does help with the expenses. It helps me try to upgrade and you see a little bit better with the graphics and stuff. I don't do this all on my own. I have some people helping me and I obviously have to pay some of them as well. But, little things like this, trust me, all this will definitely go in for breakfast tomorrow. So thank you very much. Roger Rubio, his mom had her second vaccine shot. His dad got the first shot today, and he's scheduled for his first tomorrow. Best of luck, my friend. And, I'm already, my second shot was the middle of February, and no problems. I'm going away. Oh, this programming note for those that may not notice already. Next Friday, I will not be on. I will be going away from Thursday late Thursday or early Friday morning until Monday afternoon. I'm going to be going away, celebrating my birthday. My fiance's birthday is next week. And next Saturday, while I'm away, I got to go to a wedding. So it's going to be really crazy next weekend. But, being vaccinated, I know a lot of you out there are really still unsure about the vaccine or maybe don't believe in vaccines at all. I totally respect that. But I will tell you, anyone out there that has had the vaccine, whether it's the first shot, second shot, one thing that definitely happens to you is you get this feeling of relief coming over you, that the chances of you getting sick have diminished substantially. And they say in some of these vaccines that almost, I think 99 or 100% of the time that you don't end up in a hospital or die. So it still sucks to get a little cold out of this, but the fact that you know that, God forbid, you get it, and the chances of you dying from it is this instead of this, especially when you get older and, you have some health issues. So best of luck to you, my friend, and anyone out there. And I repeat this again, if anyone out there in the U.S., is trying to book an appointment, but having a really difficult time trying to find an appointment, you can email me, dontony@dontony.com. I've helped, I think, 75 people already get appointments. There are some tricks of the trade to do it. There are certain things, alternate. Is it alternate? No, it's Control R. Some of these sites, you got to just keep reloading hundreds of times, and then an appointment will pop up, and you snatch that shit up. You got to treat it like an eBay auction. An eBay auction, 10 seconds before it ends, that's when you put in that bid, and sometimes you beat someone by 2 cents or a penny, and they don't have enough time to counterbid you, and then back in the day, you would get like a message like, "You asshole." See, a lot of people don't remember. Back in the day with eBay, when you won an auction, it would show the name of the user as the winning bidder. It didn't have any little asterisks blocking it out. And the trick back in the day, and I'm sure people still do it now, is, if you bid on something too early, people are going to outbid you. So if you see something you want, wrestling collectible, stuff you need for your house, appliances, gifts, and you see nobody really bidding on it, you don't bring attention to it. You just put a little reminder in your computer, and then a minute before the auction ends, you get your bid ready, and you just wait, and you wait. And then when you get like 10 seconds before the auction ends, even if there's bids already, you enter it, and yes, there is a risk. If you're outbid, then that's it. You don't have enough time to even put in another bid. But many times in the past, I would win auctions by a penny, 2 pennies, 5 cents. I would bid 10 seconds before it would close. And I would outbid, and then they wouldn't have time to bid it back. And then you get these, you know how you could contact a user for whatever reason? You scumbag, you motherfucker, I'll fucking kill you, you asshole, you son of a bitch. I bid on that 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, whatever it was, and you stole it 5 seconds before the auction closes. It's a good feeling, I'm not going to lie, but you got to treat these vaccine appointments like that. Something pops up, you don't freaking grab it within seconds, that's it, you lose. You lose. You snooze, you lose. Devin M., I thank you very much for that. He says that I was there for him when he had a big family loss, and this was his only release. Seriously, I've said this before. No joke. Doing these shows for all of you out there is a tremendous release for yours truly. It may look like life is wonderful and everything like that. It sucks. It sucks having 2 parents, and I'm sure a lot of you have had that happen to you as well. And you just see them deteriorate right before your eyes, and there's really not much you could do about it. My father had this crazy-ass heart surgery, and I swear I will never do another show again if I'm making up what happened yesterday. I called my mother up, and I said, could you put Dad on the phone? I did something for him for motor vehicles. And she's like, no, I can't put him on the phone right now. And I said, why not? And she's like, he's in one of those moods. I'm like, but this might make him feel better. And she puts him on, puts him on the phone. He couldn't even talk because he's lifting heavy things and he's out of breath and he's wheezing and he sounds like he's going to drop. That's my father's mentality. Never stop. So it sucks. You know, pressure, relationships, bills, worried about this COVID stuff, worrying about future. We all got big problems. The thing is, what do you do about it? And early last year, I know it annoyed some people with the hashtag, do I want to tweet or do I want to eat? But, you know, it's true. You know, this virus, as much as it sucks, it'll hold you down as much as you allow it to hold you down. And you have to adapt and you have to try to work around it. But these shows emotionally helps me tremendously as well. And I always have said this to all of you out there. If 20, nice analogy, 24. His name is cut out a little bit, so I got to fix that. No, we can never have that happen. So there you go. That's better. Thank you. Is it all right if I have sausage tomorrow? Because I absolutely love sausage with my eggs. I like bacon too, but sausage without a doubt. But I always say this to all of you out there. You're kind enough to tune into these shows. You're kind enough to show support. I've been doing this since 97. And since 97, I have never used the term fans. Not kidding. I'll do a contest right now. You ever find me on any of my shows saying, shout out to my fans? You never, ever. You don't ever hear the M word out of my mouth, and you don't ever hear me saying the word fans out of my mouth. I've always said we're family and we're friends. There's a lot of you out there that I will never meet. A lot of you out there that never, ever speak out or type anything, you know, just a lurker, which is cool. I'm lurker on a lot of shows as well. There's a lot of people out there that have no idea I support their shows. I don't want them to know. But you invest this much time and support for me, I owe it to you to work my ass off and put on as good of a show as possible and be consistent about it. And if you really care about the people that care about you, you take whatever measures necessary. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that take, but they won't give it unless someone gives it for them. It's not my style, man. Never was, never will be. And I think that's why, other than Mish, that's why I really enjoy doing these alone. Because when I do these alone like tonight, you have my undivided attention. Everything I say here is to you. It's not to someone else. And it's not for, accolades. Thank you, Austin, my brother. Thank you. So tonight, we got to talk about SmackDown. We got to talk about the quarter hour ratings. And a lot of you emailed me and asked my thoughts about the top 50 greatest women superstars of WWE. I don't know if it's controversy. I am going to save the majority of this conversation for Monday with Mish, because Mish is a huge supporter of women's wrestling, no matter what promotion it is. It's not just your usual WWE women or anybody with a nice ass and a set of tits. We will dissect this list a little bit further. For tonight, though, I will give you my thoughts on number 10 to number 1. Now, these two screenshots, I think, are absolutely necessary for you to have seen when discussing this list, or even watching or hearing anyone else discuss this list. WWE made a disclaimer right at the beginning that this list is heavily based on in-ring accomplishments, championship victories, and creating legendary moments. Now, WWE is the one that is in control of the in-ring accomplishments, let's be honest. They are the ones in control of the championship victories, but that last part, creating legendary moments, I think is one of the most critical parts of this list. Because look, WWE likes you and they put a title on you 10 times. Even though you might not be as over, as you should, and you don't create any real magical moments. That's why I think of Roman Reigns the first 5-6 years. And look at his, championship history and all his WrestleMania moments. But they always seem to be greeted with, you suck, you suck, you suck. when he was a babyface. So those first two parts, WWE is in control more than anything else. But when you make magical moments out of it, that's you doing it. So that is very important about this list. The second thing is, this is from 1993 to the present. Women before 93, they showcased throughout the series. They showed Miss Elizabeth, they showed Sherry, they showed others. So they didn't forget about the women prior to 93. But they're using 93 as the starting point, which I think is appropriate because that's when they really started putting women wrestling back on TV a little bit. And for me, I think Alundra Blaze was the one most responsible. And yes, they had other women as well, but that really, I think, was the start of putting it back on the map. So another thing is, and I want to go back to this first list, and it's very important. See the bottom? Those who primarily made their mark outside the ring will be highlighted throughout the series. They did that for women like Sunny and others, because if you didn't pay attention to that, you look at this list and then you'll start saying, why is this person not on the list? Why is this person so far down? Oh, you got to be kidding me. So if you understand all the parameters leading into this, you understand why Sherry is not on this list. You understand why some people are not as high up as they should. So again, tonight, I will just give you my thoughts on the top 10 from 10 to 1. And I will give you my straight up honest feelings on it. Number 10, Bayley. Number 9, Ronda Rousey. I'm going to give you the list first, and then I'll give you my thoughts. Number 10, Bayley. Number 9, Ronda Rousey. Number 8, Lita. Number 7, Alundra Blaze. Number 6, Sasha Banks. Number 5, Asuka. Number 4, Chyna. Number 3, Becky Lynch. Number 2, Charlotte Flair. Number 1, Trish Stratus. Okay. Just as far as this top 10 goes, if you think of the criteria as to why you're on this list, as much as I like Ronda Rousey has had less matches that I have hands and toes, I believe. Ronda Rousey nowhere should be in that top list. She just did not wrestle long enough to be on that list. You go down into like the 30s, the 40s, the 50s, and you see like, I think Billie Kay was on there. I'm not trying to single her out. You understand that the lower numbers is like Pro Wrestling Illustrated. Hell, for 2 years, I could have been in Pro Wrestling Illustrated's top 500. I swear to God. Because I had 3 matches. I got, the opportunity if I wanted to. And because at that time, people put those thoughts in my head that what I was doing was the absolute drizzling shits, I didn't dare do that. Now, looking back on it and seeing how well received all my indie stuff that you're now enjoying on Thursday nights, I know a lot of you doing it to be nice, and I really appreciate that. But even when I just look at it, I'm like, that's not half bad. For indie level, it's not half bad. And I tried my hardest. So if I had that opportunity now, you best damn believe I might even slip an extra C note just to see if I could get into like the top 100 or something like that. But Ronda Rousey has no business being in the top 10. Who I would have put in the top 10 instead of Ronda Rousey? Mickie James. I wouldn't even hesitate. Mickie James deserves to be in the top 10. You look at the criteria and how long she wrestled on the main roster, especially what this criteria is, she deserves to be in this top 10. Not even a question. I don't even think anybody would argue with that. I also feel that Lita is awfully low on this list. I think Lita should have been, if you flip-flop Chyna and Lita, I would go with that. Chyna was outstanding. Put the personal demons aside. Chyna was awesome. Chyna, it was, larger than life, a freak, if you want to look at it that way. Men were afraid of her. She broke down some barriers. She actually turned out to have a decent wrestling career, but I don't know if I would put her in the top 5. If you look at how many matches some of these other women have had compared to others, you'll start understanding why some people shouldn't be as high as they were. I think you swap Lita and Chyna. If you would have told me Chyna would have been number 8 on this list and Lita would be number 4, I'd be fine with it. Absolutely fine with it. Bayley in the top 10, I think that's a little borderline because of some of the women who wrestled over the years. But don't have much of a problem with it. Asuka being number 5 below Chyna, I think, is a mistake. I think Asuka has had a more storied career and just dominance with a capital D. I think Asuka should be, I would say, maybe number 4. You want to put Becky Lynch slightly above Asuka because of that 1 year of magic. Becky Lynch has had multiple years of an outstanding career, but she had 1 year that was MVP material. Does that basically, top Lita's entire career as a women's wrestler? I don't know. I'm not going to complain about Becky Lynch being number 3. But if this was my choosing, I probably would have put Becky Lynch maybe number 6 or number 5. JP Sweeney, what's going on? Dublin, Ireland. You should be sleeping, my friend. But much love. Hope you're enjoying the show. Number 1, Trish Stratus. Harris, I'll answer your question in a second. Trish Stratus at number 1. Now, remember not too long ago I said that I wonder what Lita's future with WWE would be because of some of the outside projects she's working on and some of the comments recently that, I don't think were well received. I have nothing against Lita, and I would love to see Lita still do stuff with WWE. But the feeling, the aura, the impression, the way it comes across to me, I think WWE is not very interested in doing as much work with Lita than what they would have considered in the past. And I think putting Lita all the way down to number 8 and putting Trish Stratus at number 1 is pretty much the example of that. Because I will tell you, being a wrestling fan throughout the 90s and the 2000s, 2010s, and today, a lot of us put Trish and Lita almost neck and neck with each other. Trish, Diva of the Decade. Back then, we thought Sunny should have gotten it. Trust me, I know looking back on it, I understand why they did what they did. But believe me, I was doing hotlines when they did the Diva of the Decade. Might have even started doing shows. And when they chose Trish over Sunny, a lot of people were like, oh, come on. This was before Trish really took it to the next level. So, and some of you are saying you would put Lita above Trish. I have no problem with Trish being number 1. But I personally think that if Lita and WWE's relationship would have been a little bit stronger right now, I think you would have had Lita at maybe number 4 or number 5 at the lowest. Seriously. Charlotte Flair, number 2. I'm perfectly fine with that. I've said it many times before. I'm a huge fan of Charlotte. I'm a huge fan of Asuka. And because of Charlotte's speaking ability and how she could verbally destroy someone on the mic and she could make anything seem important, I understand there's a lot of people out there that don't like, the favoritism, but you cannot deny how talented she is. Just for that aspect alone puts her slightly ahead of Asuka. Now, as far as Bull and Connor and others on the list, like I said, we'll get into the rest of the list on Monday. I just wanted to focus on the top 10. But I really can't argue with a lot of this list, even the top 10, because you look at what Sasha and Becky and Bayley and Charlotte have done, and Asuka, over the last 5-6 years. I love Alundra Blaze. Medusa is one of my favorite women wrestlers of all time. But you look at how many years Alundra Blaze was on WWF programming compared to these other women, count the number of matches Alundra Blaze had, I would argue that I maybe wouldn't even put Alundra Blaze in the top 10 or maybe number 10 at the highest, only because, it wasn't too long before she was gone and went to WCW. And that was more because Vince wanted to shut down the women's division. That wasn't necessarily Alundra Blaze screwing WWF over. But Monday we'll get into the rest of the list. I will tell you, as much of a fan I am of Rhea Ripley, I saw that. Someone out there know what number Rhea Ripley was? I saw that and I'm like, wait a minute. Come on. Nothing against Rhea Ripley. 2-3 years from now, you want to put Rhea Ripley as high as they put her on the list? Then I would be like, fine with it. Somebody will pull it up right now. Medusa was very good in WCW, but I would argue that Medusa, I think, had some of her best work overseas in Japan. So, shout out to AS7607. She is, recovering from COVID, and, a lot of us here are showing support. Okay, also, David Levy, thank you. Rhea Ripley, ranked 21. She's had a great NXT career, no question. What has she done in the main roster yet? So you understand why I focus more on the top 10 only. Dream 101, what's going on, Dream? So can't argue too much with this top 10 list, but, we'll break it down. We'll break it down. And now, SmackDown tonight. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but anybody who tunes into this show every single week will agree 1,000% of what I'm about to say. Not just me, but 80 to 90% of everybody who tunes into these shows on a weekly basis has been saying for almost a month now that the WrestleMania match was going to be Daniel Bryan versus Edge versus Roman Reigns. We've given a lot of reasons behind it. All these reports that Vince tore up the sheet and rewrote all of it, that's bullshit. That's bullshit. Did you see this garbage today? You see this guy? I think a lot of you out there are starting to understand how a lot of these websites work. For months, they said Vince McMahon fell out of favor with Keith Lee. Keith Lee was pulled from the championship match with Bobby Lashley and Matt Riddle. And they put John Morrison in Keith Lee's place. Matt Riddle won the belt. And the reports continued that Matt Riddle was scheduled to win the belt because Vince McMahon fell out of favor with Keith Lee. Keith Lee has not been on TV since. And that's what they ran with. Until a couple of days ago, when Keith Lee pretty much told everyone that he's got some serious health issues that he has been battling still, and he cannot return to the ring yet. Once you had the WWE Universe, a lot of wrestling stars reach out to Keith Lee, praying for your brother, speedy recovery, brother. And now all these goofs realize, he wasn't pulled because of creative. Now they're saying, this is what came out today. Keith Lee was supposed to win the belt the whole time. But because of health issues, they went with Riddle instead. What do you think, we're fucking brain dead, to say it nicely? You see how it's working? I showed you earlier this week that infamous picture of all the women in the Royal Rumble, and Nikki Cross is the only one that wasn't smiling and we felt bad for her. Remember that picture came out? And you looked at that picture, and with the exception of Tyson Kidd, Casey Cananzaro was the only woman that was in that picture that wasn't in the Royal Rumble. So what happens? All these websites come out, exclusive. Casey Cananzaro was supposed to be in the Royal Rumble, but because they didn't need her, she wasn't put in. That wasn't exclusive scoops. They saw the picture. And they said, why is Casey Catanzaro in his picture? Ow. You see how the soup is being made, how the sausage is being made? These goofs have zero sources. If they had exclusive sources, they would have said that this match was happening a month ago. This tearing up stuff is bullshit. Remember 2 weeks ago? Oh, no, it's going to be Elias versus Bad Bunny. Elias and Jackson Riker. That's why they're doing this stuff with Shane, and he keeps calling out Bad Bunny. They might even do a musical set. No, it was always supposed to be Miz. In fact, it was supposed to be, here's the truth, it was supposed to be Miz and Morrison versus Bad Bunny and Damian Priest. But that was only if they felt that Bad Bunny could not hold his own in an entire match. Bad Bunny, whether we like his music or not, whether you like him on the show or not, this guy has been training his freaking ass off at the Performance Center to the point that WWE trainers and Vince and everyone else said, yeah, we think he's good. Miz thinks he could have a great match with Bad Bunny, and it's going to be a lot of gaga, no question, but they have enough faith in Bad Bunny being in a one-on-one. Damian Priest will get involved. John Morrison will get involved. No question. But that's how it goes. There was no change in plans. It was just and look, do not forget about the possibility that Charlotte could still very well be in this WrestleMania match. Right now, she's battling. That's another thing. What about all those reports that Charlotte, walked out and won't go back on TV and said, unless you give Andrade his release, I'm going to quit also. Remember all that? She had COVID. She got COVID. Then what could you say? Most of these people ignored it because they got caught once again. But I know from people I've talked to that are pretty damn reliable, because all the stuff with the Ticketmaster stuff we talked about was accurate. Everything we've been talking about was accurate. If Charlotte is well enough to compete at WrestleMania, she will come out and it will be changed to a three-way. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. AS 7607. Glad you're feeling better, by the way. She makes a very valid point right now. Story that she heard was that Vince was concerned about Edge's performance in the ring and how he looked on camera as of late. So he changed the Mania match. This was something that was changed several weeks ago. That's why Daniel Bryan started getting inserted in his storyline. The telltale sign that it was changing was when Edge said to Daniel Bryan, you might remember this several weeks ago, that the way that Daniel Bryan, he disagreed and thought Daniel Bryan took shortcuts to get the championship match at Fastlane. Now, in storyline, Edge should complain to Adam Pearce. Adam Pearce is the one that made the match with Daniel Bryan versus Jey Uso, and if Daniel Bryan wins, he faces Roman Reigns at Fastlane. That's the story. There was no controversy about it. They made Edge make this claim that was stupid. It didn't make sense. Then you started to see a little bit of tension brewing with Edge and Daniel Bryan. And you start saying to yourself, wait a minute, where does Daniel Bryan fit in all of this? Why would you tease dissension unless he's put in the match or there's going to be a feud between Daniel Bryan and Edge right after WrestleMania? So you could see pretty much 3 or 4 weeks ago where WWE made the shift. I personally think they took notice at a large voice online that said a freaking 50-year-old is getting the opportunity at WrestleMania. Look at this roster. And you bring back a part-timer, just like you brought back Goldberg recently, and it's like, I think Edge's return, he looked great in the Royal Rumble. He looked great the night after against Randy Orton. But I think he was a lot less received in the love department by fans out there. I don't think WWE was prepared to have this, I don't want to say a tsunami, but this huge backlash online about, he comes back and wins the Royal Rumble and gets the championship match. Here's another part-time old person that they give the shot to. They have no faith in their young stars, and this is that. Roman Reigns deserves better. I think that all came into play, and I think to appease everybody, Daniel Bryan was added. And guess what? Edge doesn't even have to be pinned at WrestleMania now. If Roman Reigns pins Daniel Bryan, then you could look back on it and say, aha, Daniel Bryan was also added to the match, so Roman Reigns can pin Daniel Bryan, and Edge could lose the Mania match without being pinned. And you could look at it the other way as well. You can have Edge. What if Edge pins Daniel Bryan? Roman Reigns could lose the championship without being pinned. That's what it is. Remember when I said recently about all this obsession with inside cradles and roll-up pins for the upper echelon of wrestlers, that they don't want the visual of them eating someone's finisher? It's happened in AEW way too much. It's happened on WWE television way too much. This is an inside thing that's going. And then we've always had roll-ups and inside cradles. But if anybody hasn't been tuning in for a while, you'll start noticing that. You'll start seeing, upper stars fighting each other, and you will see some roll-up pin because they don't want that person eating the other person's finisher. It's like, okay, hey, somebody got tied up. That could happen to anybody. That's their thinking of somebody losing without, looking that they're inferior to someone else's finisher. So, do Daniel Bryan and Edge have a chance? Sure, why not? Why not? I mean, I personally would keep the belt on Roman Reigns throughout the summer, especially since a couple of months from now, you're going to start having fans come back. I think Roman Reigns being a champion and somebody chasing him is probably the best storyline sell that you could give to fans, especially paying fans in attendance. Yeah, using the foot on the rope, things like that. But the inside cradle, the roll-up, is by far the number one go-to right now. You just do a Google search. Just type in wrestling results inside cradle 2021. And look how many matches come up. You'd be like, holy shit. Yeah, Edge could pin Daniel Bryan. Roman Reigns lost the title without being pinned. Daniel Bryan could be pinned by Roman Reigns. Edge lost the Mania match, but he wasn't pinned. So his legendary return is still strong. Near says his wife is jealous of me. Why? There ain't nothing spectacular about me other than the fact that I got great family that tunes into the shows, which is all of you. By the way, you had asked me this and I kept forgetting to answer it. I'm not a big soccer fan. When Italy made it to the World Cup and made it to the finals like 15 years ago, somewhere around there, we all caught the bug. And I don't remember any of the players on the team, but I will tell you, I went on eBay and I bought this set of the soccer players with the blue and the white jerseys, and I had them on my desk like this. And it was phenomenal. I mean, my whole neighborhood, because where I live, I don't want to say it's dominant Italian, but there is a huge Italian influence still. And I will never forget, they were just on the streets, beeping the horns, yelling at the cars, screaming, because Italy, I think, went to the finals. I don't know if they won. I think they might have won the whole thing. But then a year or two later, pretty much everybody felt. You'd be shocked, like how many people had the jerseys. I almost bought the jersey also. Holy shit, it caught on big time. Steve Joseph, is it a good move for Impact to move to Thursday nights? Yeah. I said this a couple of weeks ago. Impact Wrestling, their ratings have been terrible. I might be even afraid to say kicking down the forbidden door might have hurt Impact Wrestling because they're gushing more about other promotions, wrestlers coming in. I mean, I know you're playing a storyline that Tony Khan is buying advertising, and that's why they're on the shows. But when you're like gushing, and every other tweet, yes, I'm exaggerating, every other tweet is about Kenny Omega, Kenny Omega, Kenny Omega, Kenny Omega. Well, guess what? Guess what? Your loyal wrestling fans that want to see you continue to make it seem like Deonna Purrazzo is the best thing that's since sliced bread, and putting over your own talent as, you know, huge stars. They Impact Wrestling, but with all due respect, and I know one person there that tunes into these shows because he's been very nice emailing me once in a while, you know, showing support. But, you know, one thing that a lot of people who email me or DM me privately, they say it. Tell it like it is, brother. Tell it like it is. Even if it's criticism towards someone, the criticism is not malicious. My criticism is because I want to see things get better. And I will say this. They turned Rich Swann into a fucking joke with this Impact storyline. I mean, doing an interview this past week about how he feels about, you know, not being able to get to Kenny Omega after all of these months, it's a joke. It's a joke. So going to Thursday so they don't have to deal with NXT, yeah, it's a decent move until AEW has their second show and they're no longer having a great relationship with Impact Wrestling. No, it's just business. We're not doing it on purpose. You think Impact Wrestling or AEW, when they launch that second show, if it goes against them or something, you think you're going to turn around and say, okay, no, we'll air it at 4 a.m. instead. It's business. It's business. I know there's a lot of people out there that love the emotional aspect to wrestling when it comes to releases, and I said it yesterday. We were talking about Peacock and all their censoring. Well, Lance Storm pointed out something today, and I checked it, and I was like, look at this. All of that noise the last 24 hours about Peacock censoring stuff on the network. Do you know that on the WWE network that we could still access in the United States until the first week in April? Do you know that on the WWE network, all those items were omitted as well? Do you know that people overseas with the WWE network also will not be able to see it? I checked to try to watch Roddy Piper versus Bad News Brown WrestleMania earlier today on the WWE network, and lo and behold, it's gone. Now, yes, I know what some of you are going to think. You're technical savvy out there. Well, that's because Peacock probably has their hands on the WWE network, and then all they do is they take the inside and they just transfer it to their server with their shell, and that's why it's censored there. Well, what about the people overseas that have nothing to do with Peacock? Aren't you somebody out there right now that lives overseas, that's the WWE network right now? Why don't you go on there and see if you can watch Roddy Piper versus Bad News Brown, when Roddy Piper had the split face, black and white? Let me know how that goes. So, but I said it yesterday. As much as I hate things being censored, and I've always said, you want to learn from people's mistakes or bad behavior. You know, again, if you eliminate all the evil from history, then there's no superheroes. If you delete and you refuse to teach people what horrible stuff bad people did a long time ago, there are no heroes. There are no superheroes. Why would anybody be a hero if you don't know the villain? You know, I don't like bringing it up specifics, but you delete and omit all of the negative stuff from the past, then it makes those heroes look like, why is this person so spectacular? Well, because this person went through this. I had no idea. I was never taught that in school. But as far as Peacock, they paid WWE $1 billion. If Peacock wants to take one of their executives and say, the fate of the WWE network is my hands. They want to put it on the shelf. They want to add sunny snowflakes to it. They want to delete. They want to block out the middle fingers. They want to remove HLA. They want to remove Santino Marella dressed as a woman. They want to eliminate, the men on women violence. And guess what? They paid $1 billion. They can do what they want with it. I don't agree with it, but that's how business goes. If somebody said to me right now, DT, I want to buy all of your podcast footage from 2003, when it was the Minority Report, still the Black Hearts, not even the Hotline stuff. When I started doing podcasts in 2003, and they said, we want to buy all of your shows, and we're going to give you $1 million. You sign over the rights to those shows. You cannot stream them anymore. They are the sole owners. And I say, give me my $1 million. And then they decide, you know what? We're not going to play any of this. DT, you were an asshole back in the day. You said a lot of messed up stuff back then. We don't want to air this. Well, guess what? You paid $1 million. You could change the pitch of my voice. You could make me sound feminine. What's up, everybody? You could make me sound like, you could censor me. You could make fun of my voice. You could echo it. Do whatever you want. Give me my $1 million. Here, it's yours. It's like selling a car. It's like selling a car. You beat the shit out of that car for years and years and years. You lit up the tires. You just opened it up on the highway. You just beat the shit out of that car. But it still runs okay. But it's only a matter of time where everything's just going to fall apart. And somebody likes your car, wants to overpay you. Yeah, that's fine. Give me my money, and then you do whatever you want with the car. You want it parted out? Do whatever you want. David Levy, so Peacock has TV shows and movies with adult content, but Piper and bad news is too much. Yeah, David, I agree with you. That's how stupid this is. That's how stupid it is. But they own it. They can do whatever they want with it. I will say this, though, and I know this is going to piss off some people, but that's what we do here. We tell it like it is. This might come off as a little politically correct, too. And I understand that there's a few of you out there that like to communicate with certain people. And even when those people say some really, really dopey shit, to avoid confrontation, you just LOL it, you move on. But meanwhile, you look at that person like, wow, that's so stupid. But I'm going to say this. And me, I don't even write it online because I don't want confrontation. But for the people out there that are really, really loud and angry that Roddy Piper versus Bad News Brown was eliminated from Peacock, and they're actually writing that, thank God they still have their VHS tapes. Thank God they still have their DVDs. Just take a step back for a minute and just think to yourself. This person is telling you, thank God they didn't get rid of content that is deemed racist. Just think, let that sink in a little bit. I don't blame anyone for being annoyed that things are being censored because where does the line draw? Because then you get the wise asses out there that will say, wait a minute, you want to delete all this men on women violence and this and that, but how come you didn't delete this? Or how come you didn't delete this? Or how come you didn't? Then you're going to see a slippery slope, and then you're going to start seeing a lot of other things getting deleted simply because people want to play mental chess with Peacock. Oh, you deleted this? Well, I guess you're going to have to delete this. Well, I guess you're going to have to delete this. And it never ends. So I agree with you. I don't like that any of this stuff is being edited out. But when people out there actually say, I'm so glad I still have my original WrestleMania 5. What the fuck are you saying? Thank God I still can watch Roddy Piper with half of his face black. I mean, you just think about how that comes across. They're trying to make a statement Like, oh, thank God I kept all of my stuff. You sound like a buffoon. Just like, see what I said yesterday? ECW. Okay, ECW. WWE Network started launching that. This is true. And a lot of you know this story already. WWE Network started airing episodes of ECW TV many years ago. I was very excited because I always wanted crystal clear copies of ECW until I realized all of the dubbing they were doing to the music. Now, yes, I expected them to use a lot of the WWE music, but when I see Jericho coming out to break the walls down in ECW, and I don't even know what the fuck the music is with New Jack and the Gangsters, when they just ripped apart, to say nicely, and destroyed this ECW footage, those November Rain video montages are the most memorable things that I would watch from ECW. What I did was I went to a website called ioffer.com, and somebody there was selling every ECW TV episode and pay-per-view burned on DVDs, 500 DVDs. Guy was selling it for about, I think, $150. And yes, $150 is a lot of money to spend. But I said, fuck the WWE Network. I'm just going to buy these DVDs. The quality might be a little less, but I get to watch them with the original music. I get to watch it with the original videos, everything like that. That's a lot different than saying, you know what? I'm so glad I have my copy of WrestleMania 5 so I could see Roddy Piper wrestle half blackface. You see how stupid that sounds? Yes, Lion, I envy you. You have your original ECW tapes. My God, I have boxes. I got to pull out some of the videos that I have from back in the day. I still have everything original. You know, I have my original VHS tapes, but they were horrible. Anybody that watched ECW TV here in New York on the Prime Network at 2 a.m. will remember that sometimes the quality of the TV channel was not that very strong. And for some reason, you get like a little snowy. It was not fun. So, we're going to finish this show talking about SmackDown and talking about the AEW NXT Quarter Hour Ratings. Now, I pointed out that last week, Finn Balor and Karrion Kross versus Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch for that final quarter hour. That final quarter hour was the lowest in the history of NXT being on the USA Network. Yes, I know it's not even 2 years, but what does that say? And we have pointed out for quite a while now that some people on that roster are not popping ratings. So yesterday, we have Karrion Kross and Oney Lorcan in a one-on-one match. Let's see how that quarter hour rating did and see if you have cause of concern. But first, let's talk about SmackDown. And honestly, SmackDown tonight was a fun show, but it was focused primarily on one thing: getting to Edge versus Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. That's what the night was about. As far as the tag team championships on SmackDown, all that was done today was to give the argument that the Mysterios should be in the tag title match as well. We talked about that last week. The 4 tag teams on SmackDown will face each other, pretty much, most likely will face each other at WrestleMania. So what do you do tonight? You have Rey Mysterio beat one half of the tag team champions. So it doesn't come off as a tag team championship match, but since you get Rey gets his win, now they have the argument that they should be in the hunt as well. When you have Rey Mysterio cut a promo at the beginning of the night saying that my dream was to be a tag team title with my son. Well, we got WrestleMania coming up. You think he just said that simply to fill 35 seconds of airtime? That is to justify them. The Street Profits already proven themselves the last couple of weeks. Otis and Chad Gable proved themselves last week. Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode are the tag champions. So now it was Ray's turn on behalf of his team to show why they deserve it as well. And that's what it was tonight. Having Apollo Crews get the pin on Big E tonight, albeit in a 6-man tag match, which was a lot of fun. My God, Chad Gable reversing that flip into the Northern Lights suplex. Oh, that was beautiful. You know that they were practicing that shit in the past. That was a fun match. In the end, Apollo Crews pins Big E. And this is because they will have the rematch at WrestleMania. Apollo Crews needs to get one up on Big E other than just beating him up outside of the ring and dropping ring steps on his shoulder. Apollo Crews, I agree. I'm telling you, I think this man needs to win that title. As much as we were taken by surprise, him changing his accent, it's usually the opposite. This is the opposite Kofi Kingston. Kofi came in, Jamaica me crazy man. And then he lost the accent. Lana came in, lost the accent. Zelina Vega came in, lost some of her accent. Here, it was the opposite. But Apollo Crews has done a fabulous job in his role. And you might remember back in the day, I say this motherfucker smiles too much. He's like, I can't be that controversial. He's like the Chris Van Vliet of wrestlers. Remember every time he came out there? Now Apollo Crews is not smiling anymore. Doing a great job. And if Roman Reigns retains, money should be Big E versus Roman Reigns going into the summer. We'll see if that happens. We'll see if it happens. I'll quit. Look, not against Big E. I think Big E is also killing it. Some of his promos the last couple of weeks have been the best of his career. Big E is proven that he could be a single star. Big E is doing a fine job. There is a bigger picture for Big E. I think we all see that. So that 6-man tag match earlier was a lot of fun. Chad Gable, Otis, and Apollo versus Street Profits and Big E. It was fun. Definitely, without a doubt. I know it's become a weekly tradition on this show on Friday nights, but it's a tradition that unfortunately we have to keep bringing up. We picked up on it before the Royal Rumble, and WWE has been perfect since the Royal Rumble. They have showed us that every single thing that we feared is happening. Shinsuke Nakamura loses again. And this week, he lost how we thought should have been last week. Rollins keeps beating him down. Cesaro makes the save. That's what we got today. Shinsuke Nakamura, and I'm sorry for repeating it again, but January 1st, we had the discussion on this show. Why are they not using Shinsuke more and to his potential? The guy is one of the top performers there, and it just doesn't feel like they're doing much. And then that week, leading into the Royal Rumble, he went on fire and had some incredible matches. And we thought, finally, better late than never, but finally, they're going to give this guy a legitimate push. Then we remember Royal Rumble. And we remember history. Shit. They're only pushing Nakamura, so we think he could possibly win the Rumble because he won it once before. Once the Rumble is over, smoke and mirrors, but in the end, there's no push. Look at Nakamura's matches since the Royal Rumble completed. It's worse than what it was January 1st. So he loses today to Seth Rollins. Seth continues the beatdown. Cesaro gets at him. Seth Rollins challenges Cesaro to a match at Mania. Seth is in the back, being interviewed, challenging him. Cesaro shows up, says challenge accepted, and does the Cesaro swing in the back. And who's the goof with the red hair? Is it not Pat Buck? Was that Pat Buck that was back there? I thought it was that radio guy, but it might have been Pat Buck. Did you see he was standing in front of the steps, that box, so Seth Rollins doesn't accidentally get Cesaro swinged head first into the corner of that box? I think it might have been Pat Buck. But so we're going to get Cesaro versus Rollins at WrestleMania. Carrot Top. I think, you know what? I think Pat Buck just announced that his wife is expecting. I think. Honestly, I don't follow Pat Buck. But I think someone had mentioned something about that he was going to become a dad. So I don't know if it's true. If his wife is not pregnant, then forgive me. But yeah, I thought it was Sam Roberts, Dorian. For a second, I thought it was Sam Roberts, but I think it was really Pat Buck, though. So we're getting that match at Mania. On Monday, Mish and I will give you the updated lineup for both nights because things are changing and there's going to be possibly a match or two getting tweaked on Monday as well. So some of the matches that are planned, the storylines haven't fully played out yet. So we got to wait before we start really getting into them. The Kevin Owens show with Sami Zayn, and yes, I did not get into Daniel Bryan and Edge's confrontation or Reigns. We'll put that all together in a moment. But the KO show with Sami Zayn. Now, let me make this clear. Sami Zayn next week is going to show the trailer for his documentary, and they're teasing Logan Paul to be there. Now, I know Logan Paul. I don't follow him. I know he's a podcaster. He's a big YouTube personality, and he fights. That's all I know about him. I don't pay attention to him. I'm not dissing him, but he's just not interested in Logan Paul. But me not being interested of this guy, that may kind of help where I kind of feel this is going. Sami Zayn was interviewed on the Kevin Owens show. Kevin Owens challenged him to a match at WrestleMania, which we all expected, and that will happen. And Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn will get their wish that they get to compete against each other at WrestleMania. It's something they really wanted to do. And they're getting their wish. So trust me, it's not just a throw-away match. It's not just something that decided. They've wanted this, and it's built up to this. But, if you, and I'm sorry for doing this, it's like 90 degrees in here because today it went up into the 80s here in New York. And I didn't take my allergy medicine, and pollen was crazy today, and I have a little bit of allergy, so this is bothering me a little bit, but we're almost done with the show. My perspective of this sudden name dropping of Logan Paul, I'm not aware of Logan Paul being a big-time wrestling fan. Maybe he is. I don't know. But my reaction to tonight is that Sami Zayn is not going to have Logan Paul there next week. If my hunch is correct, Sami Zayn is going to introduce Logan Paul. We're going to get the goofy music that WWE put out for him, and nobody's going to come out. And I think Kevin Owens is going to laugh in Sami Zayn's face. Sami Zayn is going to flip out, and Sami Zayn is going to accept this challenge, beat the balls off of him, and they're going to have a war at WrestleMania. So do I think Logan Paul is going to show up next week? I don't think so. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But my gut feeling tells me that they asked him for permission that they could tease that he's going to be on this show next week. Now, hopefully Logan Paul isn't a prick and doesn't go on social media and kind of do what that machine gun Kelly did, where he had to tell everybody right away, no, I'm okay. Kevin Owens pound me, I'm fine. Instead of just selling it for a little bit for Kevin Owens' sake. Machine gun Kelly. I added the extra Kelly. But I hopefully don't think Logan Paul is going to spoil it online. I just don't think he'll be there next week. I don't think he'll be there. But Jay Carlos, my friend, Thank you so much, man. That sucks. The Don Tony emojis do not pop up on the super chats. I got to try to fix that. He's currently at work, and work is, man, if work is hard for you to come by, man, you don't have to be so generous with me. You know I appreciate that, my friend. I thank you for that. Much love, and you know I'm always here for you if there's anything I could do. But thank you. Hey, maybe I could have steak and eggs tomorrow, man. But thank you, man. It's like I said, you know, it'll be officially my birthday in 25 minutes. I normally don't celebrate birthdays. For me, it's just another day. But I tell you, the fact that I know that there's a lot of you out there that birthdays do give a shit to you, and the fact that I can hang out with all of you tonight, talk a little wrestling, and go into, you know, the 27th this way, man, come on. Other than maybe getting laid, you know, maybe that would only top it tonight, which I don't believe is happening. So I am way too lazy to be taking a shower tonight. So after this, I'm passing out. But much love, Jay Carlos. Thank you very much, my friend. I appreciate it. I also want to give a shout out to Papo Jr. Papo, I will email you tomorrow because I got something that's going to be going on the way to you. Jay Carlos, did you ever get a bobblehead for me? Don't super chat that. Just email me dontony@dontony.com. Carlos, so I can get in touch with you. So, Harris, I'm going to show her the stuff yesterday with the pug. I kept saying bulldog. Come on, Jay Carlos, you're crazy, man. You're crazy. I don't go that way. He knows my stupid humor. Much love, my friend. Much love. But email me, dontony@dontony.com. I want to get a couple of things together for you. So, absolutely. But thank you for that, my friend. I can't put two at the same time. So you may have to like hang out on this page for the foreseeable future. So much love, man. Much love. So I don't think Logan Paul is showing up next week. Maybe he does. I just don't see it. I just could picture Sami Zayn. And it starts the war. Bianca Belair beating Natty, gave her a slap, heard around the world. You know, she slapped Sasha Banks. The slap heard around the world. Remember last week? The hardest, the reddest, the stiffest. WWE finally listened and stopped with the freaking Reginald stuff. Not needed. Never was needed. They sounded, like I said last week, they sounded like high school girls. I brought this up yesterday, and I know there's a lot of you out there that don't tune into Thursdays, and I'm not just trying to say this, but you're really missing out on some really special convo. Trust me, the vibe, even though the vibe on Fridays is awesome too, the vibe on Mondays is great. I mean, there's just a great vibe. But I said this yesterday, and I hope everybody thinks about this for a minute. I know about this hashtag going around of Bianca and Sasha should main event WrestleMania, and WWE's going along with it. They're now showing like 6 matches and saying, which will main event? Now, WWE's going to be slick about it. They could have 2 matches from each night, call them semi-main events. So even if Sasha and Bianca is next to last of the night, they will call it a semi-main event. And you know what's going to happen. You're going to get people on social media. That's not what I meant. They should have ended the show. I say this with the utmost respect. I understand the history aspect of it. I understand a lot of people are pushing the narrative, 2 black women main eventing WrestleMania. I understand, you know, those views about it. I say this not as a white Italian guy. I say this as a wrestling fan. You know, one of the most important things with WrestleMania is the package that leads up to the match. When they show the highlight package of Edge, Roman Reigns, and Daniel Bryan, You're going to see Edge's return. You're going to see the Royal Rumble stuff. You're going to see Daniel Bryan. You're going to see him making Roman Reigns tap. You're going to see Edge chair bashing both of them, ruining the opportunity. You're going to see Edge spearing Daniel Bryan. You're going to see promos, things said, what Edge said tonight. You're going to have all this in a 2-minute package that is going to make it so in-depth and serious that when the match starts, these guys are ready to kill each other, explode. Now, you look at some of the legendary matches from yesteryear. The video package that plays right before the match is important. That sells you why this match is going down. Now, I invite you, seriously, put black aside, put women aside, just put wrestling storyline into play right now. And just picture that 2-minute vignette package leading up to Bianca Belair and Sasha Banks closing out WrestleMania. And you tell me how ridiculous that's going to come across. Reginald, you let him on. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. No, it's not. It's The only two parts of the entire back and forth for the last month, the only two parts that mean anything is this and this. When they slapped each other 2 consecutive weeks, everything else looks like high school goof shit. Fighting over Reginald, that's the video package to close it out. I think people would laugh at that. If they would have left it like I always use Brock Lesnar versus CM Punk. If they would have left it the Beast versus the Best, the entire feud. I'm better than you. I'm better than you. I'm the EST. I'm the boss. I won the Royal Rumble. You're a rookie. Don't call me rookie. Smack, smack, pull apart, brawl. That's it. Cockiest, the strongest, the best. I'm the boss. I'm the greatest. Can't use an EST. That's all you needed. You show that for 2 minutes. All right. These two, confident, cocky, but could back their shit up in the ring, are about to prove which one is truly the best of the two. That's it. No, instead, you let on Reginald. You did this. No, I didn't. I didn't do that. You're this, you're that. Rookie, fat, skinny. That's all we needed in those arguments. You remember when WWE was doing those big block letters a couple of years ago? Remember somebody would say something like, I'm going to beat you up. And then you'd have the big word beat on the screen. Like the old Batman shows. Poof, oof, punch, wow, zow. That's all you needed. That's all you need. Every time Bianca said something with EST at the end, I'm the greatest, and you just have EST pop up on the screen. I'm the boss, and you just have her glasses. But this lead-in, for the most part, has been ridiculously horrible. Nothing against the women, but you put together that video package, people would laugh. They think it's a comedy. They think it's satire. That's why. Kazam, pow. So we're finally getting some serious back and forth with these two, and that was very much needed. Absolutely very much needed. So, Jay Carlos, my friend, the hits just keep on coming. Much love, my brother. I thank you very much. And obviously, I cannot accept that unless I send something to you. And I thank you for that again. Thank you for that, my friend. Can't leave out others. And look, I'm not going to lie, I'm not trying to put that in anybody's face. This helps me and it helps the show very much. I don't want anybody else feel like they got to try to outdo each other. Don't do that. We're all family here. And Jay Carlos, he's working, busting his ass. He's got a little bit extra coin. He sent it this way. And it'll probably go back to him in a different way. Seriously. Neil Ray, my dad, he is having issues. He's having issues. just to say it bluntly, my father is an old school Italian that never graduated high school, never learned how to fully read, that worked 3 jobs when I was a kid to put me through school and so we could have a roof overhead and food on the table. My father doesn't know how to relax. And honestly, in different ways, that's rubbed off on me. A lot of people are afraid I'm going to get burned out from doing these shows and everything like that. But, you know, I have that idea like, you know, you want something, you go out and you work hard for it in different ways. And you support me like this, I'm going to do a half-assed job. But the thing is, he's not recovered. And he's not giving his body a chance to recover. So what does he do? He lifts heavy things. He's trying to like fix like a toilet. He's doing plumbing work. He's bending over. He's doing this. And then 5 minutes later, he can't breathe. He's getting sharp chest pains. He doesn't know how to relax. And we're very afraid. We're very afraid that he's going to overdo it and his ass is going to be back in the hospital. And the worst part about it is there's nothing we can say or do that's going to stop him. My mother's petrified. But I'm just hoping, you know, because he's a very strong man, I'm just hoping that, you know, he, to himself, takes a step back and says, look, I got to take it easy. You know, that's the truth. That's straight up truth. Do I think Apollo will get the U.S. title? Yeah. Right now, my feeling is Apollo's going to get it. They have done so well with him right now. And again, if Big E goes right to Roman Reigns, the thought of Big E losing that championship will go right out the window. We wouldn't even care. And I think Paul Heyman will be a big part of that. Do I think Otis and Chad get the tag titles, make a new faction? I don't know about making a new faction. I personally not sold still on Otis being a heel. I think when fans come back, he's back to being a babyface again. I like what he's doing right now. It just feels temporary, to be honest with you. Right now, you know, the idea of the Mysterios having tag titles even for a short period of time doesn't sound too bad. I think Dominic has done a great job for his first year. And I know you might think that it's a little too soon. But, you know, right now, I haven't really thought about it all that much. But, you know, I actually wouldn't have a problem with the Mysterios getting it. And I will definitely shout you out on your birthday. Wow, your birthday's in 2 weeks. The 10th. Cool, man. Mine is actually in 12 minutes. I know you know that already, but happy birthday, my friend. And, you know, I'm going to start putting this online. I'm going to put a thread somewhere. Unless you all want to email me. I don't care even if I get 1,000 emails. If you want to email me your name and your birthday, I don't need to know your full name. Could be a nickname, whatever you want me to use. What I'll do is I'll keep in a little book, virtual book, a list of everybody's names and your birthdays. And what I'll do on the videos, I'll just put a little section, happy birthday to, and I'll put everybody down whose birthday falls in during that week. So email me, dontony@dontony.com. You know, just give me however you want your name listed and a birthday, and I'll start keeping record of that. And yeah, I'll start doing birthday shout outs. Maybe we'll scroll it on the screen as well. Speaking of screen, I got to do this. Shout out to the family. Yesterday, I recorded an hour of the members-only Q&A. I know a lot of you out there left additional questions, which I will answer tomorrow. And tomorrow, between, I think, between 1 p.m. and 2 p.m. Eastern, I will have the phone lines open. If you want to call in, as long, you know, hopefully we don't have any technical issues. Yesterday, I couldn't get the Do Not Disturb lifted for nothing. I saw all the missed calls later on. But if I have that fixed by tomorrow, which I think I will, if you want to call in during that hour, I will have the lines open. And once I record that second hour tomorrow, I'm going to put both together and upload it for our members. So everybody that you saw on there, they will get access to it and others. Dayhawk, I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm trying to keep Patreon and YouTube separately. It's two totally separate animals. But if that's the most convenient for you, yeah, you could DM me on Patreon. I'm the only one that has access to that page. So DM me and just let me know, and that's fine. That goes for anybody else out there as well. 10-minute count. I'm telling you, David, I really don't celebrate birthdays. I kid you not. I have no birthday cake here. I just, for me, it's just not. I think it's just me hiding the fact that it is a little depressing. It's sad to get old. I'm not enjoying it. Every time somebody, I'm reminded, it's sad. The wrestling stuff I showed yesterday, that little clip of us hanging out outside with my old Lincoln cranking Jay-Z. People, I think, were taken back, like, you listen to Jay-Z? I miss that, man. I miss hanging out with those guys, wrestlers, and just hanging out, having a couple of beers, and, just nobody giving a shit about the outside world and all the problems in it. It's hard to trade that up. So, but yeah, I miss it very much. Shout out to Crazy Cruiserweight. Brandon Cutler, QT Marshall, and August Gray should be a faction called Who Cares? Am I surprised that the NCAA men's tournament did better than Raw in the ratings? Well, the answer, the NCAA, no, I'm not surprised. Because that's something that is, basketball fans are very interested in watching every year. Even my neck of the woods, I know a lot of people that really look forward to NCAA tournaments. So, no, it doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me at all. Especially with basketball, it's not like a soap opera or a form of, and yet sports are a form of entertainment, but with sports, you always want to see it live. It's kind of sucks to watch a baseball game the day after it happens or late at night, unless logistics force you to do that. But college basketball, always draws big numbers. And Cutler, Tony Khan, I got a kick out of, we talked about it yesterday, him answering back somebody's tweet questioning QT Marshall. I looked at that Twitter account, it's got 30 followers. And then if you think I'm lying, you go on All Elite Wrestling's Twitter page and go check out the post hyping up the match between QT Marshall and Cody this coming Wednesday. And look at the responses. I'm not exaggerating. I'd say about 90 to 95% of the responses are negative. And the ones that are positive are the uber obsessive positive people that I talk about. Somebody actually wrote, QT Marshall versus Cody, where do I send my money? Person was not kidding. I looked at his social media account to see if it was sarcasm. That was not sarcasm. Most people realize that this is what happens. You work behind the scenes. Everybody's a family. Hey, we get in high-profile matches. Cutler with the Young Bucks. For what? August Gray, I don't think he gets in that high-profile matches, so I wouldn't throw shade at August Gray, to be honest with you. And, Neil, thank you very much, my friend. Yeah, I definitely, look, once COVID is out of here, oh, shit. For those in New York, you getting vaccinated, go check out New York State Excelsior. Is that how it's pronounced? They came out with a vaccine passport, a digital vaccine passport. It's out there now. I downloaded it. I already printed up one for me, my mom, and my dad. You actually could download an app now, and there's a barcode. And the reason why I'm bringing it up here, even though I know a lot of you don't live in New York, whether you live in the United States or you live overseas, listen to what I'm saying for a minute. Seriously, about this COVID stuff. IBM is behind the one in New York. They are coming out with others as well. This is going to be all across the world very, very soon. What it is there's a barcode on your phone, and this is going to affect wrestling as well. I will bet you any amount of money you see this happen in a WWE event. I will bet you. I will bet you. I will bet you. And maybe other events as well. What's going to happen is, in some states, like they'll say, okay, a sporting event could be 25% capacity. If you got fully vaccinated and you download this program, you input your name, your date of birth, and then it asks you for a couple of questions. It'll ask you, which vaccine did you get? What date did you get vaccinated? To make sure it's you. Then what pops up is a barcode with your name and your date of birth. And when you show up, for example, Madison Square Garden, right now for a Knicks game, you show up with that barcode, they let you in. They let others in as well, as far as men. And you still got to wear masks. But, and this is where wrestling comes in, if a sporting event or an entertainment event, Broadway, if they require the barcode, this system, they will be allowed to have more people than other venues. For example, let's say a sporting event could be 25% capacity right now. But if this sporting event requires or allows people to bring that, now they could have 50% when others have 25%. You're going to see that happen at restaurants. You're going to see that happen at weddings. You're going to see that happen at sporting events. You're going to see that happen all across the board, that they're going to have this digital passport with a barcode that says you have been fully vaccinated. It's coming. And you might remember last year in March, I said that they should give everybody an ID card that said you got vaccinated, and I never forget. Some of you are like, oh, that's New World Order shit. It's happening. But yeah, that still doesn't take away the fact that QT Marshall has no business being in this high-profile stuff that he has. No business. Look at the feedback for that announced match on their Twitter. I need to say nothing else. Kid you not. So, this leaves tonight what happened with Daniel Bryan, Edge, and Roman Reigns. Daniel Bryan opens the show as we expected. He's got a chair. He brings up how he got Roman Reigns to tap out, which was pretty funny after what happened with my Twitter last week about Roman Reigns tapping out. That aged pretty well if you look at it. But Daniel Bryan feels that he got cheated. He recaps everything that happened in Fastlane, and he's not leaving that ring unless he gets a second chance at Roman Reigns. He sits down in the ring, nothing is happening. Close up on his face, looking a little bit dejected. We go to commercial. We come back from commercial. Adam Pearce comes out. Adam Pearce, unfortunately, the referee's decision is final. It's going to be Edge versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, blah, 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 blah. So Daniel Bryan is starting to pitch some ideas. How's about, since we have two nights, how's about first night, Edge versus Roman Reigns, and whoever wins that match faces him, Daniel Bryan, on night two. He thinks that's not a bad idea. First, he wanted a return match with Roman Reigns, I even think tonight. Adam Pearce, no. So, Adam Pearce is warming up on the idea of Daniel Bryan fighting the next day. And the thing about it was, early on, Adam Pearce is trying to play off that it would not be fair for Roman Reigns to have two matches, to defend the title twice. And the funny thing is, Daniel Bryan brought up the Elimination Chamber. Because remember, Roman Reigns, fought Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan wrestled twice. So I thought of Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre won the belt off of Brock Lesnar, and didn't he fight Big Show the same night, if I remember correctly? So it was just, look, the beginning of the back and forth was kind of stupid, but obviously they needed to come up with something to plant the seed early in the night. So Adam Pearce is kind of liking the idea of Daniel Bryan facing the winner on the second night. This sparks Edge's music to hit. and Edge is pissed off. WWE trying to pipe in certain reactions towards Edge, if you notice. That piped in, you tapped out stuff with Roman Reigns was a little bit ridiculous. I mean, especially when you look at the crowd and because I've been on Thunderdome, so I know how it works. They're in the ear of everybody at Thunderdome. All right, everybody, now let's all chant. You tapped out. You tapped out. They tell you that in your ear. And not a lot of people went along with it. So you're hearing this awfully loud chant and nobody's really doing it. Some are. But Edge comes out there first and he is pissed off. You're trying to steal this away from me. He's kind of mirroring a little bit of Daniel Bryan because Daniel Bryan said this might be my last WrestleMania. Edge is saying, every match I have, this could be my last. So, they go back and forth. But Edge ultimately spears Daniel Bryan. He whacks him once with the chair. And personally, I don't know why people think Edge is suddenly a monster heel. Edge is the ultimate opportunist. And when you're the ultimate opportunist, you're not going to play favoritism and you're not going to step aside to allow someone else have what you want or feel you're entitled to. They need Edge to be against Roman Reigns and Daniel Bryan because it's a three-way. So, of course, Edge has to get angry and attack Daniel Bryan. You don't want them, and trust me, you know what'll happen during a match? You'll have a couple of moments in the match where Edge and Daniel Bryan work together, beating up Roman Reigns. I bet you. James, yeah, Sasha sounds like a high school girl on commentary. The whole storyline is like that. The whole thing. The Reginald stuff, you want to do it the first week? Fine. But they wanted it to continue and continue and continue. And then you have the tag match at Fastlane, which we knew those tag titles were not changing. And it's amazing that they still have not made Sonya Deville come out and make the match with the women's tag. We need Sonya Deville to announce some women's matches. Get involved. If Charlotte comes back and makes the challenge, I don't want to see Adam Pearce making the deal. I want Sonya Deville to come out there and say, all right, this is the match. Kay Doherty says, Edge is a heel. He's not a tweener. Okay, that's in your eyes. Because Edge right now has got to put it this way. The only reason to put Daniel Bryan in this match is not because Roman Reigns is a heel. It's not because Roman Reigns is a champion. It's because we need to feel that Edge ruined Daniel Bryan's opportunity. And you don't do that with odds or evens. 1, 2, 3, shoot. 1, 2, 3, shoot. What? No, Edge has got to do some terrible things to Daniel Bryan. And so Daniel Bryan can have the argument. We said it the night of Fastlane. Said it on Fastlane that on SmackDown, Daniel Bryan is going to feel that he was slighted. Edge is going to have a confrontation, and this will lead to Adam Pearce making it a three-way. That's it. That's what we got tonight. Edge is out for himself. That's it. Edge is out for himself. He's doing a great job right now, and he does come off as a heel. I don't disagree with you at all. But that's the only way to justify Daniel Bryan being in this match. And Daniel Bryan is one of the biggest baby faces in that promotion. So anybody that does anything to Daniel Bryan, people are going to get angry with. So there was nothing that Edge could do. I politely, refuse the idea that you be in the match also. I disagree. After I win the title, I will give you an opportunity. I strongly disagree. I decline that idea. No, he's got to freaking beat the crap out of him. So we're getting the decision at the end of the night. You know what made me laugh today? And I'm starting to notice it now. You'll pay attention to it too if you haven't already. You ever notice Paul Heyman when he's in that same room with Roman Reigns, where Roman Reigns is sitting in that love seat? It's not just that Paul Heyman is standing up, But a lot of times, Paul Heyman is like creepy, like leaning over. Like if this is Roman Reigns, like Paul Heyman, like this is Roman Reigns watching TV. And Paul Heyman is like, I was laughing earlier today. Just look back at Paul Heyman and the way he's standing behind Roman Reigns. Like if there were outtakes, I could picture Paul Heyman going like this. Boo! It was pretty funny. But, Jey Uso, sitting there with Roman Reigns. Obviously, they're going to have to do something with Jey Uso at Mania. We have yet to know. But Roman Reigns is pissed off. He has a little bit of a confrontation with Adam Pearce. Basically, confronting Adam Pearce like, I can't believe you're even considering this. We had another moment where Edge walked into the room with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns thought he had a set for showing up there. He's got a lot of nerve, set of balls. And Edge is saying, if you do have stroke over here, then you need to do something about this. Because these two guys want to fight each other one-on-one. Again, this is not being a heel, so to speak. This is to plant the seed further that these two guys don't want Daniel Bryan in the match. You see where that goes? These guys don't want Daniel Bryan in the match because subconsciously they fear that Daniel Bryan could win this title. So in order to make Daniel Bryan make sense in this match, Edge has got to do something tremendously wrong to Daniel Bryan. Roman Reigns has to do something to Daniel Bryan, in this case, tap. So Daniel Bryan now presents the argument that I should be in this match. And he should. And I've been saying it for a month. And a lot of you out there like the idea. A lot of you out there don't. I just don't think. And I never thought that Roman Reigns and Edge one-on-one was strong enough. Because as great Edge has looked in his return, in 2021, I think Roman Reigns as the champion is a hell of a lot more money than Edge being the champion. Edge is a comeback story, and it's awesome to see Edge back on TV. Never thought I would see Edge really wrestle again, and now we're getting it, and it's fun. But at the end of the day, though, it's an inspirational story, but it's not another, like Daniel Bryan when he announced his return. It's not even Roman Reigns when he overcame leukemia. So as great as it is, Edge is, it's yesteryear. And it's yesteryear trying to make another shot. And no question, Edge has shown that he could still go. So Edge is not going to embarrass himself in this main event. But at the end of the day, when you look at the bigger picture and the wrestling demographic that's out there, you can't simply just go with Roman Reigns and Edge. I have no problem with anyone out there that's rooting for Edge to win. I have no problem with anyone out there that wants to see Roman Reigns retain. I have no problem with anyone out there that wants to see Daniel Bryan win. I think this match is a lot more fun. It's weird. This reminds me of Becky Ronda Charlotte. It does. I mean, obviously, Ronda was still, new to the business, but she was showing that she adapted very well. But I remember pitching the idea of putting Charlotte in that match, and a lot of people were like, no, that's nuts. We just want Ronda Becky. And they eventually went with the three-way. And honestly, I think it was necessary, looking back on that. I think having yesteryear, I think some people feel Daniel Bryan is a little bit past his prime. So we're looking at kind of Attitude Era meets, kind of today's era, and Roman Reigns, who is still the future. So, Roman Reigns is the present and the future, but kind of fits in the last 3 decades. Late 90s, 2000s, which would be Edge, 2010s, which would be Daniel Bryan, and 2010s to 20s, which would be Roman Reigns. Yeah, Becky Ronda Charlotte turned out to be a decent match. Unfortunately, the ending, was something to be forgotten, but it is what it is. So overall, I thought SmackDown was a pretty decent show today, but it was designed to do one thing, pretty much, and one thing only, and that's to get Daniel Bryan in that match. That's really what it was. So now, before we call it tonight, let's get into these quarter-hour ratings for AEW and NXT. Very interesting. Very interesting. I will tell you that only 2 times the whole night AEW cracked 800,000, and it was barely over 800,000. NXT cracked 700,000 3 times and barely only cracked that. 1 quarter hour, NXT actually beat AEW. And surprising enough, the quarter hour, I'm kind of happy about this. The quarter hour where NXT beat AEW was the 3rd quarter. NXT had Bronson Reed versus LA Knight, and it actually beat NXT. NXT's quarter hour for that time was FTR and Sean Spears versus the Varsity Blondes and Dante Martin, and the backstage segment with Christian, Frankie Kazarian, and Christian talking to the Varsity Blondes. So yes, Bronson Reed versus LA Knight beat everything I just said with AEW. Now, on AEW side, they had 1 quarter hour that took a decent sized dip. On the NXT side, they had 1 quarter hour that took a pretty substantial dip. This is going to be interesting. Trust me, I don't clickbait. So let's do AEW first. Hour 1, 746,000. Hour 2, 768,000 for a composite of 757,000. Opening quarter, Kenny Omega versus Matt Sydal did 807,000 viewers. In fact, AEW opened with 807. They closed with 807. So quarter 1, 807. Quarter 2, which was Hangman Page versus Cesar Bononi, and some backstage interviews with Thunder Rosa, Britt Baker, and Lance Archer. That was their biggest drop of the night. That quarter hour dropped 67,000 viewers to 740,000. Quarter 3, as I had just said, with Christian talking backstage, the challenge from Frankie Kazarian in the match with FTR and Sean Spears versus the Varsity Blondes and Dante Martin, that quarter hour dropped 30,000 viewers to 710. Not very strong for the Pinnacle's first match as the Pinnacle. Quarter 4, which was the Pinnacle's in-ring promo, that segment in the back with Team Taz, and that little back and forth with QT Marshall and Cody Rhodes, that quarter hour did 727,000 viewers, a slight increase of 17,000. Quarter number 5, the Young Bucks and Brandon Cutler versus the Lucha Brothers and Laredo Kid. And then what followed with Kenny Omega coming out there and the Young Bucks walking off. That quarter hour, surprisingly, only did 765,000 viewers, an increase of 38,000. Quarter number 6, Jade Cargill's little vignette, the announcement of Cody and Brandy Rhodes' reality show, the backstage promo of Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley, and the introductions for Nyla Rose and Ty Conti. That quarter hour dropped 23,000 viewers to 742,000. Quarter number 7, which was the match of Nyla Rose versus Ty Conti, the after-match beatdown, and the backstage promo with Miro, Penelope Ford, and Kip Sabian, that quarter hour increased slightly, 17,000 viewers to 759. So far, pretty uneventful. Not major spikes in any way. The main event, Darby Allin versus John Silver for the TNT Championship and the aftermatch beatdown, that quarter hour increased 58,000 viewers to 807. Not a bad number. I did hear today that John Silver may be out 2 months with an injury. I don't know If it's completely accurate, I'm getting information. I hope to have an update by Monday. So they open with 807, they close with 807. So 757 is the average. This is how it went. 807, 740, 710, 727, 765, 742, 759, 807. So this is pretty much what they had the whole night. Ups and downs, ups and downs. Now NXT. I've pointed out a lot of the quarter hours with Karrion Kross have been unimpressive. It's not his fault. They have to develop the character. Some of what they have done, some of the opponents, unfortunately, are not strong in the ratings department either. So, on the heels of Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch now holding the first and second lowest quarter-hour ratings for a main event for NXT in the history of NXT and USA, they decided to do Karrion Kross versus Oney Lorcan one-on-one. Was there any difference? NXT, Hour 1, 701,000 viewers. Hour 2, 655 for a composite of 678. The opening quarter, Raquel Gonzalez and Dakota Kai versus Io Shirai and Zoe Stark. That did 730,000 viewers. Quarter number 2, the aftermatch beatdown between Raquel and Io Shirai. Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly, that little incident at that dojo, that Gracie school. Promos by LA Knight, Jordan Devlin, and the introductions of Bronson Reed versus LA Knight. That quarter hour dropped 29,000 viewers to 701. The match with Bronson Reed versus LA Knight, quarter 3, that increased 29,000 viewers to 730,000. Now, quarter 4, Karrion Kross versus Oney Lorcan took the biggest drop of the night, went down 86,000 viewers to 644,000. If you thought maybe they left to tune into AEW, AEW for that quarter hour only went up 17,000. So that match dropped 86,000. Now, makes you concerned about Karrion Kross, but the next quarter, which was the confrontation with Karrion Kross and Finn Balor, William Regal's announcement, and then the match with Walter versus Drake Maverick, that quarter hour increased 40,000 viewers to 690. So now, did that 40,000 viewer increase occur because of Finn Balor, the confrontation with him and Karrion Kross? Was it because Walter was on? We don't know. But once again, Oney Lorcan, which I've talked about for about 9 months now, this guy, even with Danny Burch, even though I like Danny Burch 1,000 times more, Oney Lorcan has had some of the most awful quarter-hour ratings on NXT TV. Awful. And Karrion Kross's numbers have not been strong either, which tells me that we need better opponents for Karrion Kross. But look, it's something to pay attention to, but I think there's definitely no coincidence. Oney Lorcan has consistently had horrible ratings. They put him one-on-one with Karrion Kross, and they dropped almost 90,000 viewers. Again, not going to be on Twitter. That's going to gush just to get likes and retweets and everything. We got to be honest and tell it like it is. I personally think this is all on Oney Lorcan, without a doubt. There's too much history to show that this guy's numbers, it's not there. No matter how talented he is, it's just not working out. He's going to end up like Everrise and others that we have pointed out. And it's interesting. It's interesting. It's not because of this show, but you think ratings don't matter. Fuck the demos. I don't do demos. You got to look at the overall numbers. Don't give me, you're down 300,000 viewers, but your demo was strong. What the fuck does that mean? I lost 300,000 viewers. Mean to tell me all 300,000 weren't going to buy merchandise or a pay-per-view because they're not between the ages of 25 and 34? You know how stupid that is? But let's also point out, you're losing big-time numbers here. And when you saw Everrise consistently in the tank, and Jake Atlas and others, look how drastically their TV time has been cut. And it's no coincidence. Their numbers have been horrible, and they get off TV. Now we go to, we get to Cameron Grimes in a minute. Quarter number 6, Tommaso Ciampa and Imperium having that little back and forth in the ring. The backstage segment with Johnny Gargano, with William Regal, Ember Moon and Shotzi Blackheart taking on Mercedes Martinez and Aaliyah. That quarter hour dropped 28,000 viewers to 661. Quarter number 7, Cameron Grimes with Roderick Strong in the back. And then that backstage segment with Shotzi Blackheart and Ember Moon being confronted by Candice LeRae and Indy Hartwell, which will probably end up being for the tag titles at TakeOver. That quarter hour dropped 31,000 viewers to 630,000. So Cameron Grimes, every quarter hour that he has been involved in, whether it's dumping a basketball, blaming Ted DiBiase, or that one match that he had where LA Knight interfered, every quarter hour that he has been on since this gimmick change, the numbers went down. We have yet to get a quarter hour go up when Cameron Grimes is in it. Just pointing it out. I don't have any vendetta against the guy, but it's something to take notice. Quarter number 8, Kushida versus Jordan Devlin. And the majority of Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly's contract signing took place after NXT went off the air. There was only about a minute of that during the quarter, but this is still something to be very concerned about. That final quarter hour only increased 10,000 viewers to 640,000. Now, let me tell you why you should be a little bit concerned about this. A couple of weeks ago, I had pointed out that NXT, after they went off the air, that overrun, they had increased like 200,000 viewers. It was the biggest overrun increase that NXT had had. And we wondered how much of that were fans tuning away from AEW because their show was done and wanting to see the last couple of minutes of NXT, or could it just be viewers wanting to watch what USA Network has on next? So 90% of what we saw with Kyle O'Reilly and Adam Cole, which was awesome, that happened in the overrun. And that overrun only went up 39,000 viewers. That is concerning. Makes you wonder how much the fans have turned away to Finn Balor and even Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly. It's a concern. It's a concern. So now we use 678 as the average. Here we go. 730, 701, 730, 644, 690, 661, 630, 640. They took that big drop in the Oney Lorcan Karrion Kross match, and they never recovered from it. Never really recovered from it. When you look at these numbers head to head, which is something that a lot of you requested, we've been doing it the last 2 weeks, and people really like seeing it this way. This is how AEW and NXT did head to head. The first number that I say will always be AEW, so you know who scored what. But this is how it went from quarter 1 to quarter 8. 807 to 730, 740 to 701. NXT winning this quarter, 730 to 710, 727 to 644, 765 to 690, 742 to 661, 759 to 630, 807 to 640. You see what this trend is showing. The first hour, NXT they won a quarter, and the other quarters, one time they were within 20,000 viewers, another time they were within 60,000 viewers. So they're around that. By the end of the night, NXT is down 200,000 viewers, 160,000 viewers. So as the second hour progresses, less people are watching NXT. And you can't even say that they're turning off NXT to go watch AEW. Because if you look at AEW's numbers, you know, the second hour wasn't much different than the first. The first hour, they had 807 in a quarter, which is what they did the second hour. After the 807, their highest quarter for the first hour was 740. In the second hour, their highest quarter was 765. So there's not that much of a ratings difference there. It's just as the night progresses, NXT fans are just like, you know, I'm just going to turn it off. So there you go. That is your ratings breakdown for this week. And with that said, I am going to jet out of here. I hope you all enjoy the weekend. For my friends that are members here, like I said, I'll do the second part of the Q&A tomorrow, and then I will post that members-only Q&A on YouTube tomorrow sometime in the afternoon. I will be out for the evening, you know, obviously, but I had a lot of fun. I want to thank each and every one of you out there for the birthday wishes. You know, I don't like singling individuals out, but, you know, Neil Ray and Jay Carlos are very close friends of the family. So I thank them, Crazy Cruiser, everybody. All of you that tuned in, shout out Kate Doherty, Michael Gonzalez, Benjamin 019, Sandman Sizzle, Philip Promoter, Chris, Austin Nance. If anybody wants a quick shout out, mention your names very, very quickly. Only type it once so I could run through these. I'm getting cotton mouth. Harris B, Doria Mesa, Benjamin, big shout outs to you. I know a lot of you are with the phones. Oh, that's another thing. Sam, Franklin, Tangelo. I say Tangelo, but it's Tangelo. Jay Carlos, obviously. Philip Promoter, Sandman, as I said before. K. Doherty, Mighty. What's going on, Mighty? You know, I'm starting to pay closer attention to the analytics of these shows. Jamar Schofield, what's going on? And what I'm noticing is that a majority of you actually enjoy the shows on your mobile phone, not on a computer, which is very interesting. Because when I make banners, even when I was doing the Wednesday Night Dynamite, where I have, you know, like pictures of all the matches scheduled, I always did that with the idea that a majority of you out there are watching through the computer. Now I'm imagining you're on a mobile phone. You can't make out half the stuff that I make up. That's one of the reasons why I started changing the banners and putting just one logo on the screen. So, because even when you're looking at it on a small screen on a cell phone, you could actually make out what I'm putting together. Anthony Diaz, what's going on, my friend? Larry Rovers, Elizabeth Lewis, Chris, SoFly, Kid 420. Yeah, Kid's on his phone as well. So, believe me when I tell you, even though that might not be that big of a deal, it's going to influence how I do these shows in the future, especially with logos and stuff like that, because I got to, you know, remember that when I put something, you see, like I did this the other day. Let me show you something really quick. Let me just show you one very quick example. I got it right here, so it'll take literally 2 seconds. Okay, here. See this? This is a perfect example of what I'm starting to do different. All right, see this banner here? I made that myself for Wednesday. And the reason why I did that banner, it's not clickbait. I don't do clickbait stuff. But I looked at it how it would look on a mobile phone, and you could still read it. And that's something as to why I changed the banners. Believe it or not, making banners, I think, is even harder than doing like timestamps and everything else. But I have to start making this mobile phone friendly. So in time, you will see some subtle changes. That's why even with the super chats, I started putting that big box on the left side of the screen. I did that because, you see this? And thank you, Anthony. You see this? I used to have this size. I used to have it like this. Okay. Oh, shit. Where'd it go? There it goes. I used to have it like this. And you look at it on a mobile phone, you can't read a goddamn thing that's being said. So I literally had to enlarge it and make it this big. So on a mobile phone, you could actually make it out. So, like I said, I'm not complaining about this, but I get no support from other people who are doing shows. Now, to be fair, they are busy with their shows and what they do. And I don't expect people to be devoting a lot of time my way. But a lot of little things that I'm picking up on, you would think that some of these people would say to me, hey, DT, you should change your banners because a lot of people, they watch it on the mobile phones. They can't make out what you're writing and this and that. Little things like that. Nothing. No feedback whatsoever. So by trial and error. And that's why your input is so important. Never feel you can't speak out to me, whether it's criticism, a suggestion, an idea. If you want to give me an idea and you think people will laugh at you or you think it's stupid, email me, dontony@dontony.com. My email is open to everybody. You know how much it sucks? And I'm sorry for, always bringing up other areas, but, the reason why I only pay attention to the YouTube chat, and originally I was going to incorporate Discord and other chat rooms and put them all on the screen together and have different chat logs. I had one person go on Jason Solomonster's Facebook page, and this is not Jason's fault, obviously, and all he did was give me compliments about predicting that we were going to have women's tag team championships, which I said a couple of months ago. And right away, this guy was belittled, criticized. You're a Don Tony dick sucker. He's not welcome here and this and that. Who the fuck are you? It's supposed to be a Facebook page where everybody talks wrestling. That's the vibe you get. On the Discord, there's someone here, I don't want to mention his name, but he has chatted tonight on the YouTube chat. He goes on Discord and he plugs my stuff. And what is he greeted with? People talking about like, oh, I feel like taking a shit, or, just no selling it, acting like they didn't see it and putting it down. And that's the vibes that goes on other areas. And even when I show the indie wrestling stuff from me back in the day, it's starting to become clear now that there's a lot of people out there, and, we saw it a year and a half ago. There were a lot of people out there that gave me guilt trips for going video. Made me feel guilty that I'm going video, like I'm doing something wrong. But now I'm also seeing that the more I put the indie stuff out there, and the more people are seeing how much I did, even though it wasn't very good, now it's separating the Donzilla Army and what we have done compared to other people who just do a podcast. You know what I mean? Like, you see all this other stuff that I've done over the years, and I think some people out there never wanted to see that come out. Not because it's good or it's bad, but because, okay, now he shows what he has done on the indies. And I did it for 6 years. I didn't do it for 2 weeks. So, honestly, everyone, that's why you have my undivided attention. That's why I put all my hard work here, and Patreon. Our Patreon family is something special. They are very great people, and some of you out there, you're on both. The Patreon is different because Mish is on there as well. Kevin Castle does his stuff there too. And that page is set up so there's a little bit for everybody. That's why it's there. But here, it's our family. It's you and I, and wherever you want this to go, you're in control. You are in control. And I love, without a doubt, I love being your mic piece sometimes, because you see it out there. There are people out there that are petrified to criticize AEW. There are people out there petrified to criticize people that they might be friendly with. You think I like criticizing some wrestlers that I'm friendly with? I don't do it to be an asshole. I do it because I want to see things improve. And look, they're out there busting their ass. I'm just talking. So I shouldn't be the one to tell them how they do their work. But when you see certain things that just aren't clicking, maybe a suggestion from the outside looking in might help. Believe me when I tell you, I don't want to mention any names, but there's one particular wrestler out there, a former heavyweight champion, who has said multiple times on video that the one thing that he loves as far as what I do, I'm not bragging, I'm just bringing out a point. One of the things he absolutely loves about me is that I speak my mind and I'm not afraid to deal with criticism that comes with it, that I tell it like it is, whether it's good or it's bad. And even if you're talking about that person, you're not doing it to be malicious. You're not doing it to make fun. You're not doing it to hurt the person. You're doing it because sometimes you need to be told when something is not very good or it could be improved. You see what's going on with AEW? It happens on AEW more than anything else. You know why? I'll tell you why. And shout out to Chris. Thank you very much, my friend. I will probably have a keto birthday cake, but no, everything is good, man. You know, there's no issues here. We're having fun. The noise doesn't bother me anymore, but I still bring it up because I know it affects a lot of you out there as well. You deal with your own haters, and you see what the toxic atmosphere is over there. But let me just say this, and then we'll go. This particular wrestler, okay, with NXT, the reason why you don't see a lot of fans gushing at Triple H, gushing at William Regal, gushing at Shawn Michaels, gushing at the creative team, because 99.9% of the time, with all due respect, Triple H and these people never retweet you, never respond to you. They don't acknowledge you. In the case of AEW, especially with a lot of their wrestlers and executives, you have a better chance of being acknowledged. And you get, as a result, this group of people that everything is epic, amazing, unbelievable. Somebody, you know, that's got a pretty damn big following as a podcast actually said the other day, after Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker, if I died tomorrow, then I died the happiest I could possibly be. The happiest I could possibly be is being with my family, getting married. You know what I'm saying? Like watching a wrestling match, if I died tomorrow, and we're not talking about a 16-year-old fan who is like obsessed. We're talking about somebody who does a podcast with like 30,000 followers, that everything is epic, amazing, unbelievable. I could cry right now, and there are loads of it. And the problem is, we're in 2021. This has been building for about 15 years. So you have people in high places. It's a drug to them. They go on social media and they will soak in those people. I'm not trying to be a jerk, but 15 years ago, if you had people gushing like that at a company, I guarantee you the executives would be laughing like, look at this weirdo. Look at this weirdo. You know, you want to call something epic, unbelievable, that get laid. You know, go hit the lotto. Go work, get a payday, this and that. You know, like their priorities are all off. People would laugh at that. Nowadays, they look for it. They look for it. And you see that happen. And the biggest culprits are the ones that have to at the wrestlers' names. They're not just expressing a feeling. They got a hashtag and at all of the people they're talking about because they just want that person to see it. And when they God willing that person retweets what they said or likes it, how many of you out there saw somebody for their Twitter wallpaper is a retweet from somebody of something that they said? I like when people compliment me for things or opinions or views, especially it's people that I really look up to that are killing it in the ring and doing a great job. But you got to also keep it on an even playing field. You know, you see even with the ratings, you drop 300,000 viewers and you're going to say to me, but the 18 to 34 is still strong? The ratings are down 35%. That's the problem. You got a lot of these people out there that soak that in, that need it in 2021. And, you know, it's a really dangerous climate. That's why, you know, with all due respect, WWE lets go a whole bunch of people during the pandemic. I felt terrible for some of them. And I sent money for cameo videos and told everybody, don't send me one back. 2 people did anyway, but I said, no, this is just for you. But you see right away, oh, that's disgusting, that's terrible in the middle of a pandemic, this and that. We're talking $1 billion company that has to answer to investors, stockholders. It might politically look terrible, and that's a Grinch thing to do, but that's an entertainment company. And if you're in the middle of COVID and you're not touring, and you only need 1/3 of your clientele, do you keep everybody on the payroll because it looks good and start hemorrhaging money? Or do you show that in a crisis, you know how to tighten up the ship, and unfortunately, some things have to go for the bigger picture? Business is not always meant to look politically correct. But you see in this climate right now, there are people out there that need to be reminded and told every single day that they're relevant, that they mean something, that they're important. And that's pretty sad. It's pretty sad. So anyway, I thank you all for hanging out a few extra minutes today. Wow, we went longer than I expected. But we had some fun discussion. Post your comments in the comments section. Let me know what you thought about SmackDown tonight. What do you think about the fact that we have the 3-way official? And, you know, let's see what happens on Raw Monday. Let's see if there's any tweaking to some of the other matches. There's a couple of rumors floating around. You know, I will still say that I don't see WWE doing 2 3-way triple threat matches for the heavyweight titles. On the men's side. So, you know, now I'm starting to think, you know, the chances of Brock Lesnar being there is slim to none. However, I'm now starting to think the night after WrestleMania, Brock Lesnar shows up. Or maybe right after the championship match. Personally, I'd like to see Brock Lesnar show up the night after WrestleMania, even though there'll be no live fans in attendance. But they will pipe in some pretty loud noise if that happens. But everyone, have a great weekend. All the best to you. And I thank you all for the birthday wishes once again. It really means a lot. I thank you very much for that. If you're around Monday night after Raw, 11:05 p.m., I will be here with Mish, giving you a Raw recap. We will get into that women's top 50 WWE a little bit more, and anything else that transpires between now and then. So I am out of here. Good night, everybody. Much love as always, and I will catch you Monday night after Raw. So be well. Ciao, everybody.